FSA was founded in 1985 at a time of real crisis for English football. We'd had the Heysel disaster, the Bradford fire, major crowd problems, major safety issues elsewhere. It was the right time for it to happen, because we could either have walked away from the game and said, that's it, we're fed up with it, or we could choose to fight and say, we're not taking this anymore.
It's an independent, nationwide organisation which articulates the views of supporters with the highest authorities in football, the Football Association, the Football League, the FA Premier League, you name it, we talk to the people that matter in football.
We are independent in that, you know, the majority of our funding on a day-to-day level comes from the members themselves. I mean, we know that in the past we've certainly put the possibility of getting funding from various sources and help from sources in jeopardy by refusing to compromise and back down on our views on how the game should be run. And frankly, we would not be worth joining if we did start compromising our views.
One of the objectives is to gain representation for supporters on the executive bodies that control football. Others are to oppose all forms of sectarianism, racism and sexism in football. In addition to that, then there are the more general things that agonise supporters, such as ticket pricing policies, ticket distribution, merchandising, things like that. And what we do is we generalise on those issues, and we will sort of go right to the heart of where it matters.
We've been involved in the Kick It Out campaign, trying to encourage more Black Nation people to come watch football. We've been involved in campaigns to get greater access for disabled supporters. Certainly we're in favour of creating conditions where, you know, all spectrums of society can come along to football, and to a certain extent that has happened at grounds in the last few years. But we certainly don't claim to be the voice of every fan. That's pretty much impossible. I mean, there are some football fans who are racist, there are some football fans who are into fighting. We certainly don't claim to the base to be the voice of those type of people, but we try to articulate a broad range of views of supporters. But what the FSA is trying to do is give fans a say in the democratic structures that run the game, and even indeed in some of the undemocratic structures that run the game. We're currently represented on the government's football task force, but we'd like to have a place on the FA Council. We'd like to have much more say in the running of games, in decisions that are made to do with broadcasting of the game. We'd like fans to have a say on whether or not they want to stand up at football, on the redevelopment of football stadia. So that's what we're trying to do, articulate the views of football supporters as best we can, and to work with other organisations, other fans groups, both at clubs and on a wider level and throughout Europe, to try and make sure that we get a voice. For a lot of people travelling abroad to watch England play, it's a unique experience there in a land that they may not be familiar with. All kinds of little issues will come up at these tournaments, and the guides that are produced and distributed both before and during the tournament, and the embassies which run during the tournament, are there to do that. We don't discriminate, we'll help supporters of any nationality. And when we came to Euro 96, we got a £50,000 grant from the Football Trust to run these information advice centres, to produce guides in the languages of all of the competing countries. We're about the only people producing you know, substantial documents in Romanian, Bulgarian, in Russian. And we're out there on the streets handing these things out, getting feedback from people. And it's essential. We have to be here. If we want to be articulating the voice fans, we've got to know what fans think. There are still a lot of people in football clubs who view supporters activists with suspicion. They don't just view us with suspicion, they view their own fanzines, their own independent supporters groups. There's still too much of an attitude from some people in football that says fans are there to pay us, they're there to come along, support and just shut up. But we say no, without us there wouldn't be a game. Actually, you know, it's us who pay your wages, and you should be listening to us.
Doors do get slammed in your face, but the more credible you are and the more that you keep banging on doors, then eventually you get those doors to open. And I think within the FSA, that is what we have certainly done over the past couple of years.
I think we're a catalyst for a lot of these things happening. Sometimes it's very easy for a lot of people to just stand around and say, something's wrong, I wish someone would do about it. The FSA, working with other people within the supporters movement, has made sure that something is done about it.
The FSA is the only independent and only credible supporters organisation in this country. We are the organisation that do give the supporters hope when all seems lost to them.